and now we're here on the internet.
That's cool. I'm just doing some testing because of what you just talked about.
Right. I said that and then I immediately forgot to test that thing. Hi everyone. It's been a minute since you've seen our faces. We were enjoying the holidays. What do you
say? Just said it's like we did do one episode mid-November.
Yeah, we did an episode mid-November. I think there was probably some that's the word I'm looking for.
It's worked.
Is it working?
I can see it. I can see
what?
it. Dude.
Right. Okay, cool.
We should now tell everybody what we found.
Well, yeah, we should let everybody know. Now, I guess we're live streaming on TikTok now. I guess that's cool. That's neat.
I now need to work out to make that, because the other neat. So, I guess this is the behind the scenes bit. Restream is the platform that we use to do this, and Nick started using this platform quite a while ago now, aren't you? And then you told me about it, and so I went and started using it as well for 1202. But the certain, when we first started, it would redistribute onto all the platforms. Now it's got really picky. So yeah, that's a real pain. Things like X and stuff, which we don't talk about X anymore anyway.
No,
it does other things. But it now, I think Restream also, depending on which tier you're on, so I'm restricted to 5 platforms, and then some of them got really picky. Anyway, we're now on TikTok.
Yeah, it looks like we are on TikTok. So if you are watching us on any of these platforms, just give us a shout where you're watching from. Today, as you can see from whatever title thing is, wherever, I don't know, wherever you're watching, there's probably a title somewhere. We're going to be chatting about CES, Consumer Electronics Show 2025. It is the consumer electronics show that comes to Vegas every year at the beginning of the year. And they show off really unique, novel tech a lot of times. Some of that has implications for the human factors field in terms of how folks interact with technology. And we like to break down some of the fun, quirky, goofy. There's some really wild stuff that comes out of CES sometimes. This year, that wild thing for me is have you seen? Oh God, what's the name? Is it Melody?
No, don't think so yet. Anyway,
oh boy, we'll talk about this. There's an maybe hang on. Let me see if you have it in the notes here. No, you don't have it in the notes, but it's Melody, new humanoid robot companion that packs into a suitcase.
Yes, I think I have. Is that the? I think I've seen a bit of it where there's it's the female-looking robots that look extremely like female that you just take out. Yes, I've seen.
Yeah,
it, but I haven't actually dived into the bit yet.
Yeah, it's a companion using LLM and robotics to bring a doll to life. And that's the wild one for me. The wild thing isn't necessarily the technology. I get the loneliness. I get needing companionship. I think the thing for me is the flexibility, pun intended, fully, of these robots to be molded into any. Basically, you rip off its face and you put on a new face, and you basically reboot it, and it acts as a different person.
I mean, you're right. That is quite wild in a way.
That is wild. But to get back to my original point, I think the thing that's wild to me is how we're talking about these things, because they're full on advertising that this could be your girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, we've spoken about robots before and things like this, and it's only a matter of time. In fact, it's pretty much guaranteed to be happening now, isn't it? Because we've seen historical stories where people, mostly men, are trying to get married to robots and live them sort of functional lives with robots and stuff. And you're like, really? Okay. But one thing that got me quite excited was the first flying motorcycle unveiled, but you can purchase it $60,000. So if you just got to spare 60 grand knocking about, flying motorcycle.
Did you say first flying motorcycle?
Motorcycle, yeah.
Okay.
So I've got to. So we, having already mentioned the X letter, this is the first time for me doing the show using being powered by Blue Sky for my research needs, and it is an interesting. I'm just doing my notes at the same time.
Doing the notes.
Yeah, trying to do links and stuff to Blue Sky as opposed to using our previous things. And on the whole, it's not. It just needs more people on there, but there is a lot of people on there.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second? Because like I've made this whole shift from I've tried to anyway. Like here's the predicament that I'm in right now, and you might find yourself in somewhere similar, right? There was sort of this mass exodus from X, and a lot of the people that I followed went over to Blue Sky. Great. I prefer Blue Sky in a lot of ways to X. The thing that happened though is that there was this mass exodus, and only half of the people that I follow changed platforms. And what then happened is the way that I treated it was like, oh, if you're moving over to that platform, I'm going to clean up my X and unfollow you there, and I'm going to look to Blue Sky for your stuff. So if you're not posting there, I'm not getting any of it. So what's happening, I found, is that the people that I once followed on X shifted over to Blue Sky, posted for a while, and now have stopped posting on that. Maybe they've come back to X, but I've unfollowed them on that platform, and so I'm no longer getting them in my feed at all. And I'm at this weird stage where the people who I want to follow, I'm still kind of going to both places for. It's not a great feeling.
No, it almost feels, I think, a make or break moment for Blue Sky, because I'm in a similar situation. I've made the conscious decision not to post on X anymore. And I try not to look at it either, because I do feel it has turned into, this isn't just a liberally type of thing. The amount of pornographic material, the amount of just unpleasant material that is now on X just makes it an unpleasant experience. Whereas I could quite happily scroll through make sort of Twitch streams and early X streams, fine, okay. Now it's just not a fun thing to do, and you're not getting breadth of opinion. So I was like, right, I'm not going to feed this anymore. I'm not going to post on it. So on the channels that I've got, the channels are still there, but I just don't post on them. And so I was like, let's move it over to Blue Sky. Now, Blue Sky, obviously clearly made, but it's originated by the originators of Twitter, and so it's got all the same bells and whistles that you'd expect. But you're right; it seems to be there's a lot of people who moved over. A lot of people moved over and said, "I'm doing this. This is the thing. I'm going to have a presence." I think a lot of people just went over and just reserved the names, to get that piece. And then I don't. If there's something that happens, immediate news, my almost muscle memory instinct is to go to X first.
Yeah.
And still look at that. Whereas Blue Sky just hasn't quite got that vibe to it yet, and it needs more of the journalists, more of them sort of the news distributors and things like that to actually make Blue Sky more viable. Now I've there's a couple of things I do like about Blue Sky. So that this idea of, I don't know if you've seen it, starter packs.
Yeah, I love those. Love those.
Great idea. I've made a little human factor starter pack. I had to go with it. Brilliant. Consists of largely me and you. No, there's more than just us in there. But again, you sort of like that. That was a quite cool thing. But I thought that would be a catalyst for more. So if you come on and you identify as a human factors practitioner, or whatever, it would sort of turn around and say, okay, have a look at these starter packs. They're ideal for you. I just don't think they work like that. So yeah, it was. It's not bad at all, but I just don't see what differentiates it at the moment from Threads, from because Instagram is now growing massively. It's not sufficiently different, I think, to be amazing. It's all right. It does the job. It's just not brilliant.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do something unorthodox here. I'm going to I'm gonna stop the music. And the reason why is because I'm just gonna give an intro. We're just gonna go because there's been so much stuff that we haven't caught up on. And we can roll into the CES stuff. We don't need prep for it, I don't think. You ready?
No, let's do it.
All right. Okay.
We're real pros.
We're pros at this thing. So we're just gonna roll the episode now. Look at this. We're just going.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hey everyone, it's been a minute. It's episode 306. We're recording this episode live on January 9th, 2025. You can find us here in the future. And this is Human Factors Cast. I'm your host, Nick Rome. I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hello there, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. We have a somewhat unorthodox show for you tonight. I decided during the pre-show to just cut the music and go straight into this. Because look, it's been a couple months since we put out an episode. There's a lot to catch up on. We found ourselves talking about X and Twitter and some of the changes made on those platforms during the pre-show. There's other things that we can talk about. We'll also talk about some of the stuff coming out of CES this week. It's one of my favorite episodes to do, is to look at some of the new technologies coming out of that space. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Barry for being here. What's going on over at 1202? It's been a while. So what's new?
It has been a while, and we finished off 2024 with, quite frankly, one of these episodes, one of these interviews that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've almost been too scared to do, because it is a Meet Your Heroes episode, and that is an interview with Professor Sarah Sharples. And she's somebody who's inspired a lot of my work greatly, inspires me almost every time I go and listen to her speak. And that episode went out in the first couple of weeks of December, and was just a real insight. She is the chief, one of the chief scientific officers in the UK government now, and so is really providing human factors at that level. In fact, Nick, you'll like this because she is chief scientific officer in the Department of Transport. Ooh. And so she is all over one of your favorite subjects. And yeah, so she's really, really inspiring. So I love doing that episode. I was really, really nervous about whether it would go the way I wanted it to, but I shouldn't have been really. Sarah was fantastic. And so that is there. For 2025, we're going to try and switch the format up a bit.
Oh,
this is in a discussion that is going on, because at the moment 1202 is my sort of little hobby horse. It's what I do on a Friday because it's fun. But we're going to try and change it up a bit. So try and make it a bit more relevant. So we are still going to be doing the interviews as we usually do. But then we're going to, if we get it right, and this is going to take some planning and stuff, so this could all go wrong. So I might be saying stuff here that never actually happens. But the idea is that we're going to do an interview, And then for the next episode, we are going to do a roundtable discussion about the interview that we previously did. And so how that kind of works, and because basically my team wants to come and play. They want to come and have a go at doing some of this stuff as well. And we want to try and do some more of the discussion format type stuff, a bit like what we're doing, but really sort of focused around sort of co-joining these episodes together. So that may or may not work, but we're going to give it a go. And the downside of this is it's going to take a little bit of planning, which, as we know, I'm fairly rubbish at. So we'll see what happens. But 2025, hopefully a bit more on that, bit more focus on the short form media as well, the social media, so like the TikTok stuff, to try and get to capture the newer, younger audiences that way, like we've tried to do in the past couple of years, and I keep on doing it in fits and bursts, but trying to get a bit more continuity there. So all great ideas. I'd say New Year's resolutions that I'm going to be a great podcaster and TikToker and everything this year. Let's see where we're at mid-year.
You got it, man. You got my support. All right. Let's, I guess, then get into the news. Is that what we do? Is that?
Apparently, I think
Sorry, Barry, I cut you off.
Dude, a couple of months out, and then
I'm just pressing the internet button over here. Oh, geez. All right. So like I said, this one's a little weird. We don't really have blurbs prepared, but there's a few things that I think have happened in the last couple months that at least are top of mind for me. And one of these that I was about to bring up in the pre-show, but I thought would be great for content here in the main show is, have you seen that Facebook and Instagram Meta has put out these AI people on their platforms?
No, I haven't yet. I've heard about it, but I haven't actually seen the thing. So educate me.
Sure. So the gist of it is that they have these AI profiles that are completely generated by AI. They have a complete backstory. They all their pictures are generated by AI. And the whole purpose for this is to basically drive engagement, right? So these profiles would engage with content and strike up conversation and hopefully drive other real users to come to these posts and engage with those profiles. It's all in an effort to drive engagement. And it's kind of wild to me. There's been a lot of pushback to say, what the hell are you doing here? Like, what is this for? And so I think that's a fascinating thing to me, because it kind of relates back to like the dead internet theory and all the whole of like, is anything that we're interacting with here real?
Well, this is when it first came up. I was kind of intrigued by it because on the one hand, I sort of got it because it's a bit like if you're just the lone voice shouting out into Facebook space, and nobody's hearing because you need some of that interaction to make it work. So we often strive to we do it here. We encourage people if they're listening or they're watching. Like if you're listening and you're watching now, drop us a message where you're at, so then we can interact with that message. I get that, and that's a hint, by the way. If you're watching and listening, then just drop a message wherever you're doing that, and we will respond to it. If you do that, then that makes better content. But if there's nobody listening to you, then I guess that's where then bots could be useful. But you're right, though. If you're only talking to the bots, and then we've now also got the flip side where there's a lot of content being produced by bots, like supposedly original content, and then you're just going to get, which we've mentioned on previous episodes on numerous occasions, it's just going to end up being that cycle of bots talking to bots. And as you say, where's the real injection of human input? What's the point? I thought it was interesting that all of that was coming about at the same time, or at least on the back of that, where also Meta is getting rid of all the fact checking, official fact checking, which has also raised a variety of commentary on that, which surprised me, because on the one hand, the fact that they're doing that and following on, largely from the X model of having community notes, I was like, well, surely, as quite a lot of people have said, that's terrible. You're getting rid of again a layer of almost security for what it is you're watching. But then somebody else made an interesting comment that I don't think I think they meant it more funny, but I think actually holds true. When you're in a pub or a social situation and people are chatting around you, you don't have somebody else sat there fact checking everything else that's going on in your local gossip group. But yet you still manage to, if somebody's saying something that is largely complete rubbish, you can call them out for it or you can disregard it. Are we saying that on social media we can't do the same? And I think the answer is probably no, we can't, because you can't. It's a different type of thing, but it's about how we manage our community. So yeah, it's Meta seems to be going down a bit of a weird journey at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it because they're now not at the front of the pack, or do they not think they're at the front of the pack and they have to follow everybody else? What do you think is driving behind it?
I don't know. I think I want to touch on a few things that you talked about. One, so the engagement for the AI profiles, right? I think you bring up a good point, and I can see, like you said, I can see the merit in wanting to do that. But at the same time, it's like, take what we're doing right here, for example. Let's say we see a number, like let's say we just opened up a new account on a brand new website that doesn't have anything on it, right? And we set up our Human Factors Cast account and we go to it and we say, hey, we're here, we're streaming over here. And we're a fairly niche community. Really niche community.
I was going to say, no, there's no fairly about it.
And on this new platform, they have like let's just say we're streaming there, and they have these AI profiles that would interact with us and say, oh, well, you're a human factors engineer, and you're going to interact with this content based on what they're saying live. That would be kind of cool to have like an AI agent just in the chat, just poking out type of, like additional points, because it might drive us to talk about additional points that we may not have thought about. People can do that too. So yes, if you are watching, please leave us a little note here if there's thoughts that you have about the Meta AI profiles or anything like that. So I can see the merit in that, but then also there's this false sense of importance, inflation. I don't know what to call it, but it's like, if I see an inflated number, right, that profile would theoretically count as a viewer count. And so I'm in my head thinking that there are more people a part of this community than there actually are. And so then that expectation versus the reality of everything is way out of alignment, especially when you go to like conferences and stuff and you see all the people, and and you might be looking for one of these really, really avid posters in your community. Turns out they're an AI profile this entire time, and there's no like good sort of. It would feel bad, because I'll echo it again. I say this every time I come back from a conference. It's folks like you who are listening and watching right now who stop by the booth that say, "Hey, I listened to your podcast." And no matter how the message comes across, if it's as small as like, hey, I listen to you while I'm running in the morning, or I listen to you while I do my dishes, or hey, your podcast changed my life in a really significant way. It doesn't matter to me the degree at which that happens. It's just that the fact that it happens at all keeps me going. And so when you would have sort of this inflated profile thing happening with the AI profiles and whatnot, you would get a very different sense of community that is not a real sense of community aligned with what is actually happening. And I think there's dangers in that. To go to the next point here with the sort of reduction of fact checkers, or elimination, I should say, of fact checkers. I think there's the analogy that you had put out there. There's a few things that I want to point out with that. Yes, you're right. That's how it works in in a pub or in a bar or something, where the conversation is kept between a small group of people, and if a message got out there, it might hit the ears of maybe 30 people within earshot. Not much danger there. The danger comes from when you're posting things like misinformation and there's no one to come back and say this has been fact checked as false. And I think a fact checked as a message has a stronger inherent trust to it than perhaps something like community note. What does a community note mean? Oh, somebody's commented on this thing with, hey, this isn't true. But a fact checker, I think, like I said, I'm just looking at the language here. There's
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I think that might be where the danger lies and why so many people are sort of concerned or expressing concern over this change is because once you go down that rabbit hole, that there's less of an opportunity for reality to exist on these platforms. And speaking of reality existing on these platforms, I think there's already a lot of problems, especially when it comes to like people believing what they see on these platforms. It's kind of like the bunch of jokes about people used to say, don't believe everything you see on the internet. And then now everybody's believing everything that they see on the internet.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. What else has been going on?
Well, it's we were talking about in the pre-show, which is I think what triggered a lot of us getting into this is the growth of Blue Sky as a new platform. And is it going to go and bound off into new things and be a growth platform, or is it just is it at a stumbling point and it's going to fall off the edge? Not necessarily going to want to repeat everything that we did in the pre-show. If you want to see that, go and see the early bit of the recording. But the fundamental bit is that it has got to that a precipice now where there's loads of people. There was lots of motivation, lots of enthusiasm, people going over and getting on there. I've done that myself. I've moved all my accounts, or I've made accounts on Blue Sky for at least two, for myself and for the 1202 podcast. Don't really post that much stuff on there yet. It's still, I guess, for me, it still doesn't feel like the go-to platform for all my news and stuff. For the research we've done today, I've used it pretty much solely for the research that we've done today, which has been a new exercise, which has been great. But there are other platforms out there. And I do think that there's almost a plethora of platforms that are all trying to do sort of the same or similar things now. And so when we talk about short form media, it isn't just TikTok that does that. But hi to everybody on TikTok, by the way. We're live streaming on that, and for the first time ever.
Oh yeah.
So hi to you all. But it's the TikTok have really pushed this short form media to something, but now everyone's doing it. No, you've got YouTube Reels, you've got YouTube Shorts, you've got Facebook Reels, you've got Instagram. They're all doing the same principal things. So what does a platform like Blue Sky have to do, which has got all of the original organic stuff that what Twitter had, because it's made by the same originators. But if it doesn't do something special and different in a way that works, is it just going to fall over? What do you think? Are you taken by the Blue Sky storm, or is it just passing you by?
I mean, I mentioned it in the pre-show. Like I'm trying to use it as the first primary source that I go to. But what's happened, and especially like I'll mention this as a segue to the next part of this, is that there's a creator that I like to follow on X that has posted a huge breakdown of all the things that they found at CES, and I tried to follow them on Blue Sky. They don't post there, and that's like, to me, that's where I'm at in this weird space right now of trying to find the creators that I enjoy and want to follow and support, but trying not to support them on X and trying to go to Blue Sky. I think there's a lot to work out still. And so I think ultimately I'm at the in between right now where I'm trying to adopt, but it's just not quite there.
Anyway, that's a good segue into
CES. CES is this week.
And there is some So can I just get some stuff out the way first?
Get some stuff out of the way. Yeah, you go.
Okay.
You go.
The TVs are bigger,
TVs are bigger, thinner,
thinner,
more flexible.
Right, except for the see-through TV. I thought that was by Samsung. That was pretty cool. And so you've actually got the whole thing is just a see-through basically block of glasses, to describe it really simply. That is got images thrown up on it. But you can also see right through it as well, which on the one hand, so we were chatting in the office today around how cool that really is, and you know the technology behind how it puts the images up there. But then we were like, what do you use it for?
Do you have do you have a link for that? I want to put up a visual for folks who are watching.
Yeah. Let me find. Oh, I hope I could spell today, wasn't it? So,
Show notes, cut
TV.
visual.
Are we going to throw up a YouTube link?
Okay.
I don't. Let's just copy link address. I'm going to put that into our show notes, so you can just because you'll need to put it in as a thing. Yeah, you've seen it. Good.
Yeah.
So that I think is the one that we need. So yeah, so we whilst you sort out the link if we can. The idea being that you can see, so you know we'll see the video. You put your hand behind it, you can see your hand behind the TV. That's great. But what is the actual application of it that in real life? So you're not going to use it as a TV in your living room or your bedroom or stuff like that, because you don't want to see the rest of your room when you're watching the latest greatest movie or TV show. So it's not that.
It's a heads up display. That's what you could use it for, is a heads up display.
Well, it is, but it's a big thing. It's in your.
Oh yeah, this particular piece of technology. Here, we're on the CNET one here. This one here, yeah,
that's the one. And it's pretty. It really is. It's pretty and cool. And you're right. I mean, for us, we decided that the cool application is things like shop fronts, store windows, commercial applications.
Oh yeah.
We talked around the ability to use it for, well, car windscreens, car windows, but how distracting would that be? But then having found that there is a company out there, and I can't remember who's done it now, which is really irritating. But one of the companies has been highlighted as making the entire windscreen of a car, and it might be the Sony one, I can't remember, but the entire front screen of a car, a completely interactive see-through screen, which will largely point out things like where you can go and eat whilst you're driving along. They clearly didn't hear the episodes that we did on irritating interfaces. But yeah, so again, that was one of these things that I think is quite cool, but I'm struggling on application.
Yeah, I think there is application, right? I think for me the application here would be like I said, heads up display in a vehicle, right? If you were to make an entire windscreen out of this technology, you could very much put a HUD on it. Within the home, if you're thinking about like commercial use, I do struggle with like a home type of application, although here's one that you might think of. So let's say there's like an open floor plan and you have a big screen as like a display, and you could put something in it like a aquarium visual or something, right? So it looks like it's actually fish swimming around that segments two parts of the home. It'd be for vanity purposes to have that in your home, but that might be one application of it.
Right.
You could see through to the other side. I'm also wondering if you might be able to get some use out of this in the kitchen, where you might want to look at instructions on like instructions on a microwave, but also need to see what's inside, or something like that. There was a piece of microwave technology that I saw that had a full screen, and it had like a video feed that looks at you or looks at the food that you're cooking on the stove top, so that you can make videos for internet.
Oh, for production purposes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Yeah, no, I see that.
So the that idea might be there of like using this see-through screen as a microwave cover, so that way you can look at how to cook a how to cook tutorial while you're obviously right now we're at a cost prohibitive stage, but in the future when this technology becomes more readily available, there might be more micro applications like that to help with that type of thing. I can also see like an office overlay for like a calendar or something where um you might want to like in an office setting, like a receptionist might want to display their screen to somebody else so that way they can still see them and interact with them, but they're looking at the stuff on the screen to make sure that appointment details are correct or something to that effect. So I can see applications for this, although I think right now we're at a cost prohibitive stage.
True. I mean, and it looks cool.
It
I
does
think
look cool. It looks very cool.
The graphics that they've got of like the splashing paint and stuff like that going through it, they've done. It looks good. It's bright. It's vivid. It's all you could possibly want. So I think it's quite exciting. I think it's again it's for me it almost encapsulates what CES is all about. Look at this crazy stuff, and in 2-3 years time you'll see it in a it's a way that makes more sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think to me, CES like screams kind of innovation. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, look at this battery. This is another one I saw, battery powered TV that suction mounts to any surface in your home. And it's on a closed loop. So when the battery runs out, the TV falls off. Anyway, but like, it's like, what are the applications for that? Well, it's a battery powered TV that you can take with you while you're camping or something, but like you would never use that stuff in your home. But that technology might be actually very useful in the future if you have, a handheld size that's, something that displays videos and you can just keep in your oh wait.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, like what are we doing here? So but in the same breath, I'm going to say that has large implications for like battery capacity and what types of things can we power by battery for long periods of time. Now we're at TVs. Great. We're at cars already too. So, what else?
It's so I guess I kicked that off by saying TVs, they're bigger, they're better, and that's true. That we're now boasting much larger TVs, which I think is great. But I think we've almost got, it's a bit like phone sizes, isn't it? We kind of got to peak useful screen size. Yes, we're going to get the exceptions that are super large TVs for larger applications, but for domestic, for use in the home, do we need TVs to go much bigger?
Before we move on, let's talk a little bit about more of some of the display stuff, because I think there is some interesting tech going on here. Do you see these micro LED displays that from Samsung that are basically like they stretch and they're basically like bubble screens. They stretch.
Yes.
And
again, cool. Because anybody who's had to do anything to do with display referencing or looked at them technologies and early days of having to look at if you could put a screen somewhere and keeping it perfectly straight, not putting any tension on that screen whatsoever because it'll crack if depending on your application. Seeing things like that in a way that makes it so fluid, and that's the only word I could use to describe it for me, was the way that it's making that what is typically a very rigid thing just so almost organic in a way. I just think looks really cool. How to actually utilize it from a design perspective,
yeah, that takes someone smarter than me to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing though. Here's the thing that like really just gets me excited about something like this, because you and I are scoffing at it. We're making jokes about it, but then there might be somebody else with a very specific domain and a very specific application that looks at the same thing and goes, this is it. This is the thing that I've been looking for that's going to solve the problems that I've been trying to solve. And that's what I love about it.
Well, I mean, for me, a brilliant example of that sort of technology is that big globe ball thing in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a similar sort of thing. Why do you need a 360-degree display, both inside and outside? But it's brilliant. the stuff that the imaginative way that they're doing different types of. I saw a video of how they welcomed in the new year, and with like this sort of robot type thing smashing its way in to let in the new year into the thing, and I was like, that's fantastic. It's a really good example of a sort of a technical, because the amount of power taken to do all that display is incredible. But yeah, so this is kind of along the same sort of thing, almost as an extension of that. And I don't have it. I can't remember which laptop producer has made it, but an extending laptop screen that
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's got that flexible tech that I was telling you about, the flexible TVs, and it basically pushes up on the hinge to extend the screen, so that way you have more real estate vertically, because it has a bent screen coming down that pulls up. Really cool.
Yeah, so it turns it to about, I think it's a 20-inch high portrait screen. Fantastic. It's the sort of thing that when you're going out with a laptop and you want to sit and do more document editing, or even media editing, things like that, you need that extra space. But
Yeah.
there's lots of devices at the moment where you can easily carry around a second screen and things like that. But that just been basically unrolling and the screen a bit taller when you've got the space to do so, but it's still being transportable. I like that quite a lot. I think we'll see more of that sort of application as these flexible screens become more durable.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a visual on that one, because it's hard to explain just how crazy this tech is, if you don't have a visual for it. So like, yeah, here's the extender
Yes, that's the one, yeah.
extender. There it is. Yeah, so it has a foldable screen down there, or not foldable, but flexible screen, and you just push it up and it works like that. So pretty cool stuff, man. Like,
But it's a super sharp screen. I mean, I guess I would make it comparable to the people who now have flip phones with where the screen bends.
right.
But you can sort of, after a while, you can see where the crease is and things like that. But the fact that that is as they describe, a rollable screen, it's a Livono product for anybody who's searching for it. It just looks smooth. It just looks good, and that looks like something if I could have it tomorrow, I would use. Because it looks like the right sort of thing. Yeah, big fan of that one.
Yeah. What else we got on the what other category you want to go to next, Barry?
Can we go a bit silly for a moment?
Let's go silly.
So every year, I think you always get somebody wanting to do the next smart fridge freezer. It's one of these things that completely, every time you sit there going, no, just stop with the fridges. People just want a fridge to be cold. But Hisense have now come with their new version of a fridge. It's not got you can get a smart screen on the front of it. It's now a vacuum fridge. And so their idea about keeping stuff fresh for longer is when you close the door, it draws a vacuum inside the chambers.
Okay.
And I'm like, are we just trying to do more to solve a problem? Now, unfortunately, the article I tried to, and I've linked an article in our notes, but it's in Spanish, and I don't read Spanish. So I was hoping to get into the detail of it a bit.
No conoces español. Okay.
And when I've used the browser to do some translation, it's a bit questionable. But it as seems to be the buzz all the way through CES this year. It's got AI built into it, of course. But it's got things like dish designers, food recognition, meal planners. But this has all been part and parcel of smart fridges, or what the ambition has been for smart fridges for eons, and people never seem to use these sort of concepts in the way that designers want them to. But this idea about having the vacuum piece into it, I thought was really interesting.
I'm just thinking of the lawsuits. The moment a small animal or a child climbs into one of those things, and it vacuum seals the living thing, it's like, is there AI built in to understand what's in the fridge? Like,
Yes.
because when you vacuum things too, especially liquids, like you're pulling all the air out of it, and so is it gonna? How does it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of questions. I hadn't seen this one, so thank you for sharing that.
So let's stick with the whole domestic product, because robot vacuums.
Robot vacuums. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you see this one from who is it? Robo Rock? It's the
Robo-
one with the arm? The one with the
Yeah.
arm? Oh my gosh.
Which is, I thought it just seems to me that somebody's watched a few episodes of Robot Wars and gone, can we domesticate them? Can we tame Robot Wars robots to come and be our servants around the home? But yes, again, to I guess try and paint the picture, it is just anybody who's seen the current trend of having the robots in your home, small disc-like things with wheels on, trundle around your home and your vacuums. And I think now have become quite affordable. The ones that are out there are fairly decent. The level of quality has hit such that it's not just a specialist thing. And so that's fine. So what is the next step? And that is to have a robot arm coming out the top of your RoboVac that can then do the dusting at the same time, or can move objects out the way and things like that. So
right. Yeah, they're trying to do like these all-in-one approaches. So there's this robot vacuum that we just talked about, the one that sort of does the extender armor come down and pick up a sock out of the way. But like I wonder, there's questions I have about how strong is that grip strength? What happens if it detects something fragile? Like how does it handle those types of things? What kind of decision making is going on in the but then there's also another company that's doing another robot that is more geared to be that all-in-one solution. It's called what is it? Switchbot?
oh, I
Switch.
haven't seen this. Have we got imagery?
Yeah, we got Switchbot here. So let me pull up Switchbot. Just give me one moment, and I will get a visual for you. But Switchbot is a multitasking household robot that basically it looks like it's one of these all-in-one things. It's got vacuuming, organization, air purification, monitoring for pets, delivering your food while you sit on a couch. So here, let me get the visual up so we can see it. Give me a moment. Yeah, here we go.
See, we need like producers in the background to do some of this
I
stuff.
know. Hey, B-roll, please. B-roll, come on. B-roll.
Oh,
Yeah, so you can see it's like made up of these different parts and components. And so you take, okay, it's got organizing, and it's meant to be this all-in-one solution that's like modular in some ways, and can sort of do some of these things that we're talking about. So not only picking stuff up, but hey, look, we also have R2D2 from Return of the Jedi delivering drinks and cooling, patrolling. Look at that, you got a camera on there. And all the while it's vacuuming. And hey, you want a telepresence? You got it. Air purifying. All right.
so whose product is this one?
Oh, who is this? This is
Because that looks similar to that's Circuit.
Circuit.
There's a Eufy product, EUFY, where they've got a 3-in-1 robot vacuum, which they're claiming is the world's first detachable combo robot vacuum, which it can't be true if you've got this one here. But it did win the 2025 Best of Innovation Award. That's which is interesting. But again, not too dissimilar to what we've just seen. It sort of brings in, it can clean your home or become a stick vacuum for you to use, or a handheld vacuum when you want to use it. So it's not just an autonomous beast. It is something that you can pick up and use at the same time. So that's where the combo bit comes in for that. So interesting.
Yeah. At this time, I'm going to take just a quick pause. We've been talking a lot about the stuff that's interesting to us, but if you're watching live, or even if you're not watching live, leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening. Let us know what kind of crazy things you've seen coming out of CES, what you're excited for, what you think is just absolute dumb. Like we would love to talk through what you're interested in. So just leave it in the comments and we'll bring them in. All right. Well, okay. So we did robots, we did fridges, we've done displays. What else you got?
Cars.
Cars.
So 2 cars have launched themselves at CES. Both Honda and Sony have produced electric cars. which they both bought out. I think Honda's is ready to go, and you can basically straight after the show you can order one, and I think Sony's similar, but and we've talked about this a lot. It's just a bunch of touchscreens and wheels and motors. They look space agey. They look quite cool that way, but fundamentally, they're just not enough switches. There's not enough. They're cool concepty cars that look great in a bit of glitz or a future movie, Demolition Man or something like that.
Am I hearing you correctly, Barry? Are you saying, "Damn it, give me buttons and switches. I want my car to look like the inside of the Millennium Falcon cockpit, where you just have,
Don't put words into my mouth.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. That's what I want.
No, I want that happy compromise. I mean, I'm a big fan of using as we know, as we've discussed on many occasions. I do like a good touchscreen in the right application. But here, what we've just gone with is just a broad, massive screen, and in the same way that that Tesla have done, is like one screen will solve everything. They've sort of done a similar thing and gone broad that way. And I don't see where the innovation is in that. I don't see where they're not listening. They're not. We could do some really cool stuff with touchscreens, with the different types of displays we were talking about earlier. But also, where is the usability? Where is the consideration of safety? It feels like they're all coming in again and saying touchscreens is the way ahead. Oh, by the way, we've got to put some hardwired switches just to appease the health and safety law. And then, whereas no, you could be cool with this. You could provide some really sexy, really well designed and developed interfaces that takes both the tactile nature of what you need and cool, sexy screens, and make it one. And I think for me, both of them have bitterly disappointed me.
Well, you know what is kind of a cool a cool thing that the company's doing here, BMW. They have this concept here called what is this panoramic drive, panoramic iDrive. It's basically a heads up display that goes in your car, and I think this to me is like one of those things that if this technology could be ported to other cars, existing cars, this could be really cool. But essentially they have the touch screen, whatever, but then it projects a heads up display onto your windshield. So it's kind of a cool technology. I think it's not clear to me whether or not this is built into their models. I would assume so. It looks like it could also be an add-on feature to other models, but does it only work with BMW products? I don't know, because it could be something that's really cool applied to a bunch of different with all the buttons and switches that you're asking for, Barry.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is the shape of that screen in the middle. I hate that.
Tell me more.
If you're going to have an offset geometric shape, make it curved, because it just implies a lot for me. Aesthetically, it's a lot more pleasing than just some straight lines, or what looks like badly designed lines.
Did you see? God, I wish I could find it. There was a curved display that was like hugging the interior of a car. That here, let me see. Flexible displays, CES 2025 car. I don't know. Like this, you got to see this because it's so cool. Those flexible displays that we talked about earlier with the laptop. There's there's one application where it actually like molds to the display within the vehicle, and it looks really convincing because you can see it like just completely morph into the dash. It's really neat.
It's I mean, again, things like that I think are really cool, but then from our perspective as designers, when we come to do the design of the user interface, specifying that sort of thing is going to be challenging, which is a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I
How do you
want to
spec for 3D space?
Yeah, I want to be a part of. I want to play with that that technology, and let's bring it on. But yeah, I can see the ability to try and spec that out for the developers in the way that you want is going to make our job that little bit more interesting and harder to do.
Yeah, but I mean, an interesting challenge, because I wonder if it's still on an XY grid, and so you design it in 2D space, but understanding where those curvatures are in a 3D in a, that's all super cool. Do, you talked about this in the pre-show, since we're kind of talking. Do you want to talk about the flying vehicle that you had mentioned?
Yeah, so not only have we now got flying cars, we've got flying motorcycles, which I think is just epic. So the Richter Skyrider X1, name that just rolls off the tongue. It's the world's first flying electric motorcycle. It's going to cost you the best part of $60,000. So if you've got 60 grand sitting around, then it will give you a range of about 40 minutes. 40 minutes flight, so at a speed of around 60 mile an hour. It's got planning, it's got weather adaptability, it's got it looks just like a motorbike that is an enclosed motorbike with UAV quadcopter arrangement stuck on the top of it in a very sleek way. So yeah, that I think that could be quite exciting. I think this whole thing about where flying vehicles are now going to get us, and the evolution of the quad and more drone and the controllability that gives you is just going to take us somewhere in the next couple of years that I think is going to be quite incredible. I think the way that we look after this type of technology, because it's small, so how do we control
How do we
airspace?
classify it?
Yeah. How do we?
Is it a drone?
Is it a drone? Is it a plane?
Personal aircraft? Yeah.
Is it Superman? All that type of stuff, and we are going to have to, because technology is going to go there. Technology and law is going to, because somebody's going to have an accident, or an incident or something that's going to force this to be looked at by law, go through the court system, and it's going to really force us to think about how do we manage airspace, particularly that 0 to 250 meter or 500 meter space, where we've got micro drones, because that's the other bit that we can come on to. Is another bit in CS was more exploitation of micro drones, where you can have them following you and doing stuff. But we'll come on to that. This is going to be all about how do we if you're wanting to have one of these motorcycles or a flying car or something like that for you to navigate to work, or do your commute, or go and visit relatives, or just nip up the road, go and do your shopping. How do car parks work? How does airspace work? How do you deconflict? How do you ask permissions to go and do things? Do you need to ask permissions? Is it just going to be the new Wild West? I'm quite excited by this. I think it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, you're excited until somebody falls onto your house. After,
as long as they're insured.
Yeah, and then how is that going to be handled? Like, is insurance going to be just? Yeah, okay.
But I do wonder whether we're at the same point now of when the first motor cars started hitting the roads, because obviously when they started doing that, going from horses and things like that to faster vehicles, which then accelerated, forgive the pun, and road safety had to catch up. And it's kind of what we're doing now, that autonomous vehicles and we're having to catch up with road safety to make that happen. And the likes of the companies who are developing them are forcing us to think about it in a way that's quick. And if we don't catch up with the thinking, then they're just going ahead anyway. That's going to be the same with this. That's going to be the same with these type of technologies, that it's becoming more achievable easily, and then you're going to get people building their own, and we're just going to force all sorts of things to happen.
Yeah, I think so. I'm taking a look at some of the other stuff that came out of this. Are there any other highlights for you, Barry, that you can think of here before we start to wind down on the tail end of the show?
So glasses seem to be quite popular.
Glasses, yeah.
So there's a few different glasses in play. One is by a company called Venture, and I was quite taken by these for simplicity, and the idea is that they are just a pair of glasses, and you swipe backwards and forwards on them to either increase or decrease the polarity. So your ability to see through them, the polarization of them, and on the one hand, we have that automatically anyway, because you have the glasses that when you walk outside automatically polarize, and when you walk inside they go clear. And this is just allows you, the way they're selling this just allows you a lot more control. It's not necessarily new technology. You can have it in office walls already. So glass walls, you can press a button and they go opaque. But they're now in glasses. So that was one thing. And then there's been a few more where they've jumped on basically the next evolution of Google Glass, where you've got monochrome and color displays doing things. And the ones that scared me most, I say scared, but and I just can't
Excite you.
unnerve me maybe, are the ones that you can wear, and they've got all the recognition on them, and will be doing the automatic language translation for you, and all that sort of stuff. So that means, on the one hand, that automatic translation is brilliant. I think it's a really good idea, because we are the globe is a much smaller place. Now, somebody who's currently trying to learn and failing to learn Japanese, I think just having that sort of thing to be able to do it is great. But we've then taken the issues that we've already talked about quite a lot on smart speakers and smart homes. We're going to be taking all them issues of safety, security around with us all the time. So yeah, clearly glasses are an interesting topic about how much technology we're throwing to them. Yeah, have you got any last things that you want to throw up?
Yeah, I think I mean, I can do a rapid fire of day 3. So today we're recording on day 3. There's still another day to go, so there might be some more announcements that we're missing here. But I think one of the other biggest themes from this year's conference is, to nobody's surprise, AI. And I think they're using some AI in some interesting applications, especially when it comes to well, I mean, they're trying to put AI in everything, right? But beyond that, how they're using it, especially in sort of like these virtual environments, which is really near and dear to my heart, because virtual environments mean video games. And so there's like a lot of new sort of ways in which they are using AI uh, to run simulations on characters in video games, or to map, character voices to their faces, so that way there's less animation cost involved with something like that, especially when it comes to localization. There's other cool things that are going on, like how to have a co-playable character, which as far as I understand, it's like someone that you can switch to, but has their own autonomy when you're not on them. So that's an interesting application. There's another one here that came out of CES it's called Runner H, and it's an AI agent that they are advertising here. And basically, if you're unfamiliar with what an AI agent is, it will take a goal of yours and attempt to do that goal. So, one of the examples that they use is, I'll be at CES in 2025, book me a room, in Las Vegas, search for anything nearby. And so it'll kind of communicate with you what it's doing at every step of the way, but it'll go out on its own, and it'll go and look up its own websites. It's going to take control of your computer. It's going to click on the buttons and do everything for you. And it'll pause at multiple steps to get user confirmation to say, hey, this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to book you a hotel room here. Is that cool with you? Cool. They've done everything for you. What kind of events do you want? Choose one of the 3. Hey, I got a show here. and then book me a conference room, and then it'll look through all the conference rooms and book it. So like you can actually set it off to do tasks is essentially what an AI agent does. And so I think this is an interesting thing, especially when it comes to, trust in a system, because there's going to be some crazy things that happen when an agent starts being in control of the things that you're looking at. I am going to look through this day 3 thread to see if there's anything else in here that we haven't already covered. Looks like some of this stuff is old, but barometer measures hormones quickly using saliva. There's a lot of health tech too. Like there's a new full body scale and mirror that like communicate what your vitals are and your breakdown of your body from Y things, which is cool. AI wearable for productivity. That's not going to do anything. Sorry.
I'll jump in. There seems to have been a few, which I meant to mention, robots and companions. So there seems to be quite a push on having your robot companions that can like send you around hotels and act as concierge and things like that. But they do seem to be a bit like what Google Glass used to be, whereas everyone's got one, no one knows what to do with it.
Right.
Again, I thought it was interesting. I just thought I'd throw that
Well,
in.
AI companions come in all shapes and sizes. I mentioned this in the pre-show. They're starting to market these full humanoid AI companions that can that look very much like humans, and they are advertising them as like they can be your friend or your girlfriend, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Literally, there's another company with a robot out here that looks like Romy, and if you ever played like Sonic and know what the chows are, they're like the little like teardrop shaped robots with eyes on them, and they're cute, and they're supposed to be a friend that helps you when you feel alone, worried, or sad, to talk you through some of those things. So literally all shapes and sizes that are coming out of here in terms of AI companionship. More fitness, affordable watches, AI, blah, blah, blah. And look at this, an AI bassinet. Cool.
Yes. The baby companions and all that sort of stuff. I think there's there's definitely a lot.
I think there's too many sources to thank for this one, but I'll just name a few here. Especially with respect to finding and sourcing these. So who do we have here? Rowan Chung. And we got some stories from USA Today. I'm trying to make sure that we source all these things. Who else was the other one that was really Hassan Tour? So thank you all to you all and so many others that helped us put this show together, from the coverage that's coming out of CES 2025. And really, if you have anything from CES 2025 that you want to post about, please leave them in the comments. We'll be happy to readdress them next time we're on the show. We're going to take just a quick break, and I think then we'll do one more thing, and then we'll wrap up the show. So we'll be right back right after this. Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast Network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, truly huge thank you to all of you patrons. You are truly keeping us going, and I promise we'll have some exciting things to announce a little bit down the line for patrons. Okay, with that, we've kind of eaten up our time for the It Came From segment, which is where we usually talk about things going on from around the human factors community. But I did want to check in with you, Barry, because it has been a good minute since you and I had a one more thing. So I'd love to know what's going on in your life. What's your one more thing this week?
So I'm really trying to look into 2025. I'm trying to draw a line under 2024 and therefore come and do new and fun things because I didn't do very much of that last year. So this year is going to be about looking at new hobbies and new ideas. And as my first bit into that, Amanda, my wife, bought me a pottery lesson. So I'm going to organize and learn how to do some pottery, and something I'm really looking forward to because it's got nothing to do with the day job, though I'm already thinking about ergonomic cups and things like that. But I'm looking forward to doing something that will just enable me to do different things. So I think that's going to be my theme for 25, and I'm looking forward to making that work.
You mentioned pottery. I am going to require an image of Amanda holding you like that scene in Ghost.
I shall put that request in. It may or may not work, and it may or may not be.
Okay. Well, I figured I'd put in the ask. All right. So for me, I have a lot of things I think that are on my mind. Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. 2024 is behind us. 2025 is before us, and I think there's a lot of changes that that I'm looking to make this year. One of which is something a lot of folks tend to try to do around this time is get back in shape. And so one of those things is my one more thing this week is a really interesting piece of gym equipment that I found and have ordered and like. And basically, it's kind of hard to describe how this works, but if you have like dumbbells, this is a crossbar, a barbell with clamps on either end that attach to those dumbbells that you can then turn that bar into a barbell, you know, and so you can bench press with it, deadlift with it, all that stuff. And what really is interesting about this is if you have some of those adjustable dumbbells from like a Bowflex or something, which I do, um, you can combine them in very interesting ways. So you can kind of put the barbell down and then adjust the weights on it and then bring it back up. And it's, you don't have to adjust the barbell or you don't have to adjust the dumbbell on them each time. It's just you're adjusting the weight on the barbell. So it's really cool, really interesting how it works. There's also a kettlebell extension too that you can kind of attach to the adjustable dumbbells. And if all this is confusing, just imagine like dumbbells that you hold in your hands, okay? And those are adjustable, meaning the weights are adjustable.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change them from like 5 to 10 to 15 pounds.
Cool.
And then you put those on the ends of this barbell that you can then. So it's really cool. It's kind of changed, how much you can do. So now when I deadlift, I no longer have to hold the two dumbbells next to me. I can just hold the barbell.
Cool.
Bring it up. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
So so by the end or by mid-year, we're going to be doing podcast topless to show off the new rip body with the new bells.
No promises, but that's the hope. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
All right.
That's one way of getting the listenership up.
There we go. Yeah, we got to do it that way. All right. Well, that's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode and enjoy some of the discussion around CES, I'll encourage y'all to go listen to some of our other CES episodes. Just see how tech has changed over the years. What goofy things were we talking about back in 2020 that are either now obsolete or a permanent part of our life? Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of all the stories this week or what you found most interesting from CES 2025. For more in-depth discussion, you can always join us on our Discord community. You can visit our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support what we're doing over here, there's a couple things you can do. One, wherever you're at right now, give it a like, subscribe, or leave us a 5-star review wherever you're watching, listening, consuming the thing that we're doing right now. Tell your friends about us. That's the second thing you can do. Word of mouth really helps us grow and helps other people find the show. And 3, if you're financially able, I know everyone's finances are different. And so if you're financially able and want to support us monetarily, you can absolutely do that over on Patreon. We'll take your money, but you don't have to do that. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. I'm going to thank Mr. Barry Kirby for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about humanoid robot companions?
Well, if you want to come and chat with me on social media, I'm now on Blue Sky. So I'm at bazkirby.bsky.social. You can also find me on Facebook and other platforms like that. So feel free to come and get in touch. And if you want to hear interviews and what we're going to do with 2025, then come and find me interviewing people at the 1202 Human Factors Podcast, 1202podcast.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Rome. You can find me all over social media at Nick_Rome, and I'm also in our Discord. Thanks again for tuning in to Human Factors Cast. Be sure to stay around for the post show if you're watching live. Until next time, it depends. Hey, that was pretty solid. Where's the music? Can we get the music back in here, please?
I'm sorry, I can't talk until your music's playing.
AI agent, get the music.
There we go. Yeah, this whole reference to Blue Sky is a bit weird as well, isn't it? Because you don't just have, because the bluesky.social can also change for people as well. I don't understand how that bit works. I've not really explored it.
I've not either. Yeah, I don't know. People will find me. They search my name, they'll find me.
Yeah. So still exciting and interesting.
Yes.
Oh dear me.
What's burning a hole in your pocket? What do you want to talk about?
Well, an interesting bit that come around for us at the moment is for those who don't know, we home educate our children, or have home educated our children, and that's always been a thing ever since our eldest child first went to school. And it's the way actually, and through home education is how I got into politics, right? Was because the government at the time was insisting on registers and oversight on something that they just don't need to do. And so I was part of a movement that organized the biggest mass petition against Parliament that's ever been, against their reforms for trying to do this, and we got it stopped, and I was very proud of that. It's interesting that 6 months into this new government, and they're trying to do the same thing again, and sneak it through the back door of another bill. And so I find myself in a weird situation that with a government I largely support, and I'm a signed up card carrying fee paying member of, that I'm protesting against it again. And I was like, how things go round in circles and don't change. So yeah, that it's but I think that's small fry compared to the issues that you're going to have, because you're about to mobilize the military and go and take over the world, aren't you? Which is exciting.
I don't know. I think, look, there's I have so many thoughts on this. And if we want to get into politics already, we can get into politics fine. But like, I think have we mentioned that we got a media problem? Like, here's the thing that I think is really dangerous in a lot of ways, is that I feel that these types of things are being spit out there to distract from some of the larger issues. And like the fact that they have no agenda or cohesion on how they want to accomplish that, or the fact that there's a shadow president running our transition. Like, it's just there's more problems, and then the whole the whole wealth class thing. That's a whole other issue that is not being talked about, because that happened.
I mean, what I find, I mean, to sort of take it away slightly from the actual specifics, and to look more at human behavior, I do find it interesting that we treat our politicians like garbage. We always have done. Politicians are always in it for themselves, blah, blah, blah. But then when we actually, we assume that most politicians are going to act with a level of decency and things like that. And most of political systems, the UK has, the US has worked on people largely on the whole being good public servants. There's been issues and stuff, but they've generally sorted themselves out. Generally, on the whole, when you've elected people to senior roles, they've acted in a way that is befitting of the office, no matter what office that is. Whereas I think what we've got now is really a good example of what happens when people just, when that's that level of trust, or that level of assumption that people will just act in the for the best of everyone else, it just goes out the window, and we just sat there going, it just shows how fragile this thing called democracy actually is, and how I think we take a lot of this stuff for granted, and a lot of that can be put at this idea of how we don't talk and listen to people anymore, and you could put a lot of that down to the feed of social media, which is ironic. So the increase of of us being able to the increase in social capability has left us in a place that we can't do what we're doing. So yeah, it's a weird. I think we're in a very weird place.
Very weird. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we're to be clear, I think we're part of the problem, but not in like we're problematic, in that we're contributing to the problem. Here's what I mean. Do you have a license to be a journalist?
Me? Nope.
No, I don't either. But I still try to stick to journalistic integrity. I try to cite my sources where possible. I try to, do my research before I present something out as fact. How many folks out there with platforms do you think do that?
Well, I mean, when you look at, when we talk about like the short form media and stuff like that, people are just giving 1 minute blasts of their own piece. And how can you, I mean, this is where I think we struggle, because I think the bigger point you're sort of potentially alluding to is we are trying to put the onus on social media platforms to keep everybody honest. We're saying that the platform should be doing more to fact check people. We should be doing more to, if they're bad, to take them down, and things like that. And there is, and I don't disagree with that. But equally, that takes away the responsibility from you and I to talk about decency, to talk about the right stuff, to talk with integrity, to talk with, like I said, to reference what we do. As soon as we take it away from ourselves, then what? People are just baiting for clicks. So yeah. Rubbish.
Yeah, I'm noticing some chat here. Hi everyone. No meme coins for us, but Darren on LinkedIn. Am I your only viewer? Did I miss all the interesting CES stuff? We did talk about CES already, but would love to hear. We did kind of the show recording already, but happy to talk more about it. what are some of the most interesting things coming out of CES for you? What interests you? While we wait for a response, I'll just kind of comment on that. Yeah, I think Barry, you're right that there's a lot of authority issues. I think when it comes to viewing something through a screen, it's like we're assuming that the people who are talking know what they're talking about because of this legacy of sort of production. There's an interesting analysis that like everything that has been recorded up until like the 2010s, I think, was performative. There was a limited resource when it came to capacity. And so like everything that you saw that was visual medium was like a movie or a television show or the news that's highly produced. And even people went as far as like when you go to take candid photos or family photos or anything like that, even with the advent of digital camera, you're still looking at a limited resource in the sense of capacity of storage space. And so when you think about storage space, there's still a performative aspect to it that's like, oh, do that again for the camera, or you know, let me record so you can do that again for the camera. Oh, I got to delete it and we'll retry it because there's a limited capacity. Or pictures. It's like, okay, we get a couple more in that vein, but again, it's like, I want to save space so I can take more pictures. But now the capacity is unlimited or nearly unlimited with cloud storage and storage on your phone. And so there's a million different things that you can capture. And especially when it comes to things like, these off the cuff hot takes that you find everywhere. I think there's that's where the danger is because everything that we've viewed up until 10, 15 years ago was performative. And so, yeah, very interesting.
So Darren's just commented he's not had a chance to see anything on CES yet. So Darren has suggested that when this episode goes live, you go back and have a look at it, and you'll be able to see everything that we've said on days 1 and 2 of CES, and a bit of day 3. And are we on multiple mediums at once? Yes, we are. We are so over the internet. It's unreal.
I pressed the internet button.
Yes. Yeah. And tonight we're on TikTok for the first time.
Yeah. Facebook, Twitter. It's not Instagram. YouTube,
Twitch.
LinkedIn, Twitch. Yeah, we're streaming simultaneously over all these platforms. So if you go to YouTube, you probably can rewind a little bit, get back to the CES stuff.
In fact, if you're on LinkedIn, you should be able to go backwards.
Oh, well. Yeah, LinkedIn has a scrubber too.
It's quite clever. Where are we up to? So yeah, it's seeing some of this. You're right, seeing some of this stuff come through. It almost makes we're going to see an evolution, I think, of how people deal with their media. I mean, how much? So there's another podcast out there, called This Is Entertainment, which is basically, as it says, it's all about the entertainment sector. And one of the things that they said recently, which I thought was really interesting, is the way that you produce TV programs and movies now is substantially different because they are fully cognizant of the fact that most people sit and watch TV with a phone in their hand.
A second screen.
And a second screen. And so not only are they doing what they're doing, but they are competing for your attention. A screen. But also they said that they weren't, that initially they thought it was just a competition, that they had to make what they put on the TV compete with what was on the phone. Whereas now they're realizing that actually you can't get away from that. You're having to work with that. And so they're having to make the narratives of whatever it is that you're watching more simplistic and more repeated. So you know that for the third of the time that you're looking up, that you need to be able to get the thread of where you're at, or they might just be listening because they're watching whatever's going on the phone. So I thought that was an interesting insight into how they're producing TV, and certainly from a human factors perspective, is there something for us about how we design things, knowing where we've always worried about cognitive split in attention, but this is another nuance into that. So when I've been designing stuff for submarines, they tend not to have mobile phones on there.
I know there's like consultants in Hollywood, and I know a little bit about the process, but I'm unfamiliar if there's like a resident human factors representation in Hollywood as like a person to consult about how usable the sets are, all the way down to like from like the usability of the sets all the way down to the sort of ending production, like what type of visual stimulus would elicit a certain response from the viewers. And I've always found that fascinating, because I know they have psychologists, but whether they're like for mental health or for other reasons, I think I've always thought of that, and like how cool that would be if they had somebody in the editing room saying, well, actually, if you use this color instead.
So the how to play with emotion.
Yeah, or actually the framing of this is not quite what you're trying to convey here. I think if you're trying to elicit that emotion, you might want to do that. And the reason I bring that up is because you brought up the second screen thing, and I wonder if there is a potential way to reconcile this in the future where you have dual screen content, where there's sort of an interactive component that you're doing on your phone that affects the medium that you're watching. So like if you think about like the Jackbox games, I bring these up all the time because they hijack your phone to play the thing. And I think that's a brilliant way to engage with other humans in a setting. But again, if your phone is the distraction from the media itself, what kind of things could you do to make an interactive medium with that second screen, so that way it hijacks it, so that way you're still getting a piece of the content? Like imagine if in the future things are recorded in 360 degrees and you could almost use it as a magic window to see what other things are going on. How would that change your experience? Like if you're watching like a horror film or something, like, oh my God, that'd be cool. You could like see where the monster's at before the jump scare on the screen. It's coming, and it's like still really creepy because it's in this physical space with you.
Or use it to help interact with the medium. Maybe influence the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
What was really cool, you'll remember Kate Preston, who's joined us on this podcast and a bit of others. Every New Year they have a Ceilidh, which is a effectively Scottish dance party with traditional Scottish dance, and they live stream it on YouTube. And so for the past 2 years, we've watched it on the run up to through New Year's Eve, on the run up to midnight. And so they'll be doing the traditional Scottish dancing, and so we'll be there because Kate will be on our Teams chat. And so like, Kate, you've got to wave at the camera so we know that it's live and what you're doing. And so then she'll run out into the middle of the dance floor and do waving and stuff, and we'll get so that made it way more interesting than just watching, because it was interactive. It meant that we were influencing some way the what you were seeing on the big TV, which I thought was quite cool.
Yeah.
But I guess the last thing to mention before I guess we disappear: are you a Traitors fan of the TV show Traitors?
You've told me about it, and it's something that I've looked into and feel like I would be very interested in watching.
You haven't done it, have you?
I have not.
Oh,
is it good this season?
So I think the format is really interesting. So we're now on season 3,
right?
But there's been also 2 US seasons, which we watched avidly as well. There's been at least one Australian version, but it's interesting because there are flaws with the format, but it's so watchable. I don't know how much longer it'll be able to go. I think it'll probably have maybe 1 or 2 more seasons in it because of the flaws in the format, and people will just get too used to playing the game.
Right, the meta.
It is so brutally raw at watching a group of people come together playing a game in the way the game is doing it, and just gaming each other. It's fantastic. I think it's really good fun. So we're in the middle of season 3 at the moment, and anybody who's not watched it, I'd recommend you go and watch it. It's good.
It's conceptually like the game Werewolf, right?
Yeah. Yes, just like that.
Yeah.
And it's they basically go away to a Scottish castle, and through the days they're doing challenges to build up a money pot, and then at night they get to do a banishment, so they get to try and work out who one of the traitors are. And I think you can have technically you could have quite a few traitors, but there's normally anywhere between 1 and 3 at any one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, they have an end sequence that says, right, whoever's left, there's normally say 4 or 5 of you left. If you think there's a traitor in your midst, nominate. Or if you think that everybody around is a faithful, then you're all good, and you're going to share the money. But if there is one traitor left, you all lose, and the traitor wins everything. And so you've got the faithful versus the traitors. That's what. But then also you've got, for some reason, and I don't know quite why these dynamics come about. You've got traitors versus traitors as well. So you've got the traitors wanting to take all of the money, not just a bit of it, which I think is really quite bizarre. But it seems to have come out. And so there's various bits of it that are quite good. So yeah, I'd recommend having a look at that. Quite cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be fascinating. And let me know. So okay, let me know what you think of this idea, and everybody watching, let me know what you think of this too, because I think this would be tremendous amount of fun. Is if we played some sort of mind game with a bunch of human factors engineers.
Right. What sort of mind game?
Like a werewolf, or like a Jackbox game, or just something that would something cerebral.
Cool.
I just feel like that would have a lot of it would have a lot of potential. The personalities would have to be there.
Yes.
But I think it could have a lot of potential, especially if it's like a turn-based game. For something like this, if you did a virtual thing, a turn-based game, where I don't know, I bet there's some cool ones out there that we could potentially leverage. If anyone has ideas or something that might, like, if you've ever wondered what a bunch of human factors engineers in the same room or in the same live stream trying to outsmart one another would equate to for good fun, let me know.
Is there a human factors theme of a Dungeons and Dragons, of some sort of D&D type thing, which that could get? I did D&D for the first time, so we did it as our team Christmas exercise, and so I'd never played D&D before, so that was what we did, and I was really reticent to do it. I wasn't. I'm not going to say I was forced into it, but I was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, fair enough, let's get on. But actually ended up being really quite good.
Okay, so it looks like Sean in chat says Among Us.
Oh yeah, no, fair play. I think that on the one hand could be quite good. On the other, you don't necessarily get the interaction to make that work in the same way.
We'd all have to have our own streams for it, I think.
Yeah,
and you'd have to watch along with somebody individually. Yeah,
but what is quite cool is when I've done that. So when Among Us got like really big before Bubble Burst, we would play that, and we would play with my kids, but they'll play with Discord alongside. So you'd have a Discord chat going alongside it whilst you're playing the game. You're like going, that was kind of weird. But it was, it got to be quite good fun.
Yeah, that one could be a good one. I'm wondering if like Secret Hitler would be a. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, there's a lot of games like that. I mean, like I say, you could do that on anything that you could do that way, and we could do like through a stream. That could be quite fun.
Yeah,
in a different way.
I'd like to see that someday. That might be a good like stream from HFES special. How crazy would that be?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I'm doing one last cleanup, looking for anything from CES this year to see if there's anything that we may have missed. Trying to look here.
It's a fair point. I'm just going through Blue Sky, and there's a letter in one of the UK newspapers, The Guardian, that says read Mark Zuckerberg's decision to ditch fact checkers on Facebook to prioritize free speech. Report.
Right.
What sort of free speech is prevented by fact checking?
Right.
It's a good point. So.
Hey, quick shout out to everybody in California affected by the fires. Please stay safe and please take care of yourself and your loved ones.
Indeed. And slightly adjacent to that, what was said, the wildcard games are starting. Is it this weekend for the NFL? Because the Rams are meant to be playing Raiders in Las Vegas. In Los Angeles, and there's lots of discussion about whether that should be moved. And I think the idea is that yes, it probably should be moved because there'll be moved resources that are being used in the wildfires. It's
going to be a drain on especially the city infrastructure to,
Exactly. So.
Okay, here's a cool one from yesterday that I missed. But VLC, if you're familiar with VLC, it's a video player that you can get on computer most devices, and it's great because it allows for basically any type of video file to be played. It's the first thing that I download on a lot of different machines because it can play a lot of different things. And they have open source AI models working offline, supporting live automatic subtitle generation and translation for a bunch of different languages. And I thought that's cool. Because what I would love, and how cool would this be? I feel like we're not super far off from this. Is like we're having a podcast right now. What if somebody's watching in China and they want to translate it, right, for what we're talking about now? Sure, the culture would be different, but I think the words would still be there mostly. Be a cool thing. Help that accessibility with the worldwide approach. 3D. That's okay. Whatever. Okay. Looking. Okay, a drone rover robot. I'm yawning, so it's not super interesting. All right. Oh, the Mercedes G. Do you see the Mercedes G? We talked about cars earlier, but we didn't talk about this one.
Oh, yeah. It can do basically 360. Yeah. I saw the video of it, but I couldn't find the read-up of what the technology actually was. Because I couldn't work out whether it was just individually controlled wheels or they actually had.
Yeah, I think it is individual. It looks like it's individually controlled wheels. If you slow down the video,
it's basically skidding on the
yeah.
Yes, it's interesting.
It definitely looks like independently controls. Bilingual countries like Canada. Yes, agree.
And Wales. Wales is a bilingual country.
Wales.
So the other videos that I want to watch from CES is obviously they do the Worsting show as well.
Yeah.
It's
LinkedIn no longer supports scrolls, huh?
Oh, by the time you joined, okay, that's interesting. I thought it did. So that Darren, who was chatting to us through LinkedIn earlier, has now moved across to YouTube to see what we can get from there. And that kind of follows what we said earlier about the fact that actually a lot of the platforms are doing a lot of the same stuff, and how they're going to differentiate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we should really have that discussion, because it's like, what is even sorry, this one is an interesting one. But like, what are we even doing with social media at this point? Like, what is the point? Because what's happening is that there was like there were these interesting hooks for each platform. Like, Facebook was like a connect with your friends, and then sort of like type out your thoughts and feelings and maybe share pictures. But then Instagram became pictures, and then Twitter was more like, the short form, like hot takes. And then TikTok was like the scrolly short form videos. And then now everybody's trying to do everything in these unified platforms and trying to get all the spaces, but they're no longer, dedicated. Sorry, the thing that I was just looking at was this 3D printer that can print and bake using a laser. So it 3D prints a cake, an edible cake, using batter, and then it fries it with a laser, and then the laser bakes it in place, and you got like this cake slice, and it looks like a 3D printed thing. Like,
I mean, that's pretty cool. I've seen before where you've got a 3D printed distribution system over a hot plate so basically it'll do pancakes to any sort of shape and pattern. But that sounds like taking it to the next level. I'm just back and looking at that BMW interface again, and you know how I was very disparaging of the shape of the screen that they had.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it slightly more static, I can see why they've done it, because it fits with the shape of the steering wheel, and so it actually, you could argue, it sort of fits. It gives you a slightly more intuitive interface, but then it is overlapping some stuff behind it, which I've been. If you remember back when we were talking about EVs and me getting an EV, and
you got one of those?
I have. I know I kept it quiet, but initially I was looking at the Kia EV6, and so I've now had my car for about 2.5 years, and so in sometime through this year, it'll go back to the owner, so because it's on lease. And so I'm now looking about what it is that I'm going to do next time. I'm going to get another EV. I'm going to do. So Kia have bought out the EV9, the EV5, and the EV3, and so they're all SUV type shapes, so almost 4x4 type shapes of different size. And I was like, oh, they look really cool, because I liked the EV6. This is going to work. I like the ecosystem, but I then looked at the user interface of it and seen some of the reviews, and they've managed to put some of the hard content on screens behind the steering wheel, or behind the edge of the steering wheel, so you can't actually see it from the driving position, no matter where you put the steering wheel. And you're just like, what sort of idiot didn't look at that? That's just mad. So anyway, I'm going to go and test drive one of them and see whether I actually like it for a user interface. So I could do, if I think about it, I'll record some content when I do it, and we can then talk about it.
All right, we got a few questions in chat here, a few comments in chat. Let's address these, and then I think we'll probably get out of here. So one comment here on YouTube: I like pre-recorded content that is a transcript and content, so I can satisfy my ADHD. Hey, me too. I see you. I feel you. And skip to interesting content. I also like to set playback speed fast, but some platforms don't do it. I love this, and I hope. Well, it's probably unknown, but when I go to produce these episodes, I condense the breaks, the like audio pauses by quite a significant amount, and I reduced the amount of ums and ers that we do to make it more streamlined. And listening at 2 times, 3 times speed, totally cool with me. I love it. I'm right there with you. I watch almost everything at 2 times speed.
We spoke about this before. I very much don't. Even though I completely get the ADHD thing, I think I like being in the moment of what they're doing, not just another thing. But yeah, I completely get that, and I like the fact that we've got platforms now that will allow us
for that flexibility. Yeah. All right, we got we have a couple questions here. Sean writing in, how do you feel about the level 3 auto driving in Mercedes versus Tesla? And then yeah, okay. Mercedes level 3 auto driving versus Tesla's level 2.
I right now I don't have an opinion because I don't know. It is on my list of things to look into because it is, because there's another bit about throwing Ford's contribution in there as well, about how they play. So right now I don't know because I haven't seen or read up on it. But come back next time and we'll that could be something that we get stuck into.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that it doesn't have to be certified for it to be road safe or something, and so you have like what is it, SAE, the is it Society of Automotive Engineers,
something like that.
Is that it? Something, yeah, it's Society of Automotive Engineers. So you have to have it sort of approved, at least in the US, you have to have it approved, and so I think I'm thankful to see it there, and it's great that Mercedes is there. And I know there have been a ton of lawsuits and discovery with the Tesla autopilot system, and so the fact that Mercedes has gotten to that level 3 beyond Tesla's level 2, great. Beyond that, again, no opinion. From my perspective, I haven't had a chance to try out the level 3 automation yet, but would be very curious to, because to recap here, what the difference between level 2 and level 3, just for anyone who's unaware, my understanding is that level 3 allows for automation under certain conditions. So if you are completely autonomous under certain conditions, meaning you don't need to have your hands on the wheel or eyes on the road. And I think the difference between that and perhaps what Tesla is doing is that with Tesla, there's like a required check-in every so often. You have to put your hands on the wheel, or there's sensors to make sure that your eyes are on the road, or checking the rear view, that type of thing. So I think that's the key difference. Please educate me if I'm misspeaking there, but I believe that's the difference between the two systems. I know there's probably more that goes into it in terms of the technical, but in terms of the human interaction. Is that how you understand it, Barry?
Yeah, pretty much. The one, level 2 being the you've got to be there ready to go to take over at any point. You are still in control of the vehicle, effectively ready to go. Whereas level 3 is basically telling you more about what it's got, what it has done, rather than what it's going to do. And yeah, it'll be if Mercedes has got that working and running. There is a number of, certainly in the UK, you've got to get them signed up, because Ford has only just got Blue Cruise signed off in certain elements of the UK, where that is, you can now be hands off in certain circumstances, but it's got to be on mapped roads, which is largely only a proportion of our motorways, and you've got to have the vehicle in a certain condition. So yeah. I'm still waiting to try Blue Cruise but Ford have done a funky thing where it's a signed up for thing, so it's a subscription piece, which I wouldn't pay for every month because I don't use all of the motorways in the same way every month. But you can just buy it for a month at a time. So I'm waiting for a trip to go.
Busy month.
Yeah, a busy month, and play with it. So we'll see.
All right, last question, and then I think we'll get out of here. Do any neurodivergent human factors people get annoyed with all gadgets being flawed in some way? I will say from my own personal experience, neurodivergent or not, a lot of human factors engineers have candidly told me that human factors has ruined their perception of the things that are around them.
Yes, it's very much that way. I think the
television, movies, everything that you're like, what that makes no sense.
It's yes, completely agree. Maybe it's just the way we wired. But it is definitely that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
All righty. Well, I'll read this last comment and then we'll wrap up here. As a human factors and safety specialist, I don't think we should be mass selling autonomous systems that need human cross monitoring, since the person will ignore that and expect full independent autonomy. Yeah, there's some dangers there for sure. But I think that's going to be it for today. We'll go ahead and wrap up here. If you want to leave us comments in the meantime, please feel free to do so. You can always leave us a voicemail and, a message anywhere that you can find us. Please leave us all that stuff. We love seeing that. And then, obviously we'll be back here at some point. I think we're trying to do every 2 weeks or so. And so we'll catch up with all the news next time we're on. This isn't the full outro. So I hope you're all doing well and they're starting the new year strong, and just wish the best for y'all.
Cool. We shall see you in 2 weeks. All
right. Bye, everybody. Bye. Where's my thing? Hold on. I got to play the thing. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye. Are you tired of boring lectures and textbooks on human factors and UX? Well, grab your headphones and get ready for a wild ride with the Human Factors Minute podcast. Each minute is like a mini crash course packed with valuable insights and information on various organizations, conferences, usability methods, theories, models, certifications, tools, and much more. We'll take you on a journey through the fascinating world of human factors, from the ancient history to the latest trends and developments. Listen in as we explore the field and discover new ways to enhance the user experience. From the Think Aloud protocol to the critical incident technique, focus groups, iterative design, we'll make sure that you're the smartest person in the room. Tune in on the 10th, the 20th, and the last day of every month for a new and interesting tidbit related to human factors. Don't miss out on the Human Factors Minute podcast, your ultimate source for all things human factors.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our monthly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and access to the full library of Human Factors Minute, a weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you.